Hey everybody, it's spring break 2020, and as usual my family is in the Northwoods. Our timing this year for spring break, and to be miles and miles from other people, couldn't be better, because this is the first week of cancellations and social distancing, and our time up here is actually getting longer by the day. Every day that goes by we find out we get to stay a little longer, so I figured I'd spend some time fishing little wilderness lakes where there is no access. There's one here I've wondered about for years. I don't know what's in there, if anything. Could be fish, could be nothing. I might find that it's only 5 feet deep, but I could also find that it's 25 feet deep and it has fish that no one's ever caught or put any pressure on. I have no idea. So hopefully this is one of several. So let's go check it out. Well, got out here, drilled a couple holes. First one, over there by my snowshoes, was 8 feet, and this one here is 12 feet. Ooh, that wind. I have a feeling that wind is gonna hit me hard when I get farther out there. Anyway, haven't seen any fish on the sonar yet, but there were some otter tracks by the edge of the woods there. Real fresh. I know they're fresh because it stopped snowing just a couple hours ago. Real fresh with some otter poop. I looked closely, there were fish scales in it, big enough to be catchable fish. So that's a good sign. Get out in the middle here and see if we can rustle up some fish yet. Well, I haven't pulled up anything so far. Drilled about 10 holes, 10 or 12 holes here and there. The deepest water I found was about 14 feet over there. In 13 feet in a couple places, I saw a couple fish suspended anywhere from a few feet off the bottom to just under the ice. I have not seen weeds anywhere except for in 5 feet where I caught some wispy little weeds on my jig when I put it down to the bottom. That's it. I'm really surprised at how few weeds there are here. I just walked to the other end here because I could see something sticking out of the snow. It appears the wolves got to a small deer rather recently. It's very fresh. Looks like the crows have been picking on it today. And there's just a ton of footprints all over in here. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to poke a few more holes and then probably be on my way. See if I catch anything or if it'll just be a bunch of little, looks like really small fish. Just looking at my bait. They respond to it, but they won't bite. So see if I can find anything worthwhile in here, but I'll probably head out soon. Well, I just returned to my first hole where my snowshoes were sitting. And I looked down in the hole, and there's a little tiny minnow, a little crappie minnow, swimming around down in there. Scooped him up, so now I have proof of life. At least I know there's something swimming in here. A little disappointed I didn't find any game fish. Not terribly surprised. The deepest water I found was 14 feet. Over in here, almost right away. Oh well. Well, even though I didn't catch anything, I have to say I'm glad I finally came. Every time I drive along the road up here, I wonder about this lake. Duck hunted back in here once a long time ago, and my brother got a deer off that broken down deer stand behind me. That was about 15 years ago, so now Jake, you know where I am. So the search continues for my own personal honey hole in the woods. Onward! Well, another day, another lake. This is another little lake in the woods that I've always wondered about. We used to drive past here with my grandpa and he'd point it out. Didn't know anything about the fishability of it though. There are depth maps, but nothing published about what kind of fish might be in there. The path down here had some footprints on it, but couldn't tell since they've been snowed over if it was from people or deer going in and out. The surface of the lake looks completely unblemished, so I think I might be the first one, at least in quite a while here. I don't know, it's not too big, so it shouldn't take too long to cover. Kind of learn a thing or two. Let's find out. Well, I made my way to the other end of the lake, and I have to say, it is just gorgeous in here with these rolling hills and all these stately red and white pines. I just love that. Well, anyway, I drilled my first hole, and it's about 7 feet, and there are weeds down there, and I thought I could see some fish activity. So instead of heading straight back over the basin, I think I'm going to probe around in here in the weeds and see if I can't find a little something first. So that's the plan. Well, I've been all over the southern half of this lake, and I've drilled about a dozen holes, and all I've found is about 7 feet to the top of the weeds. Actual depth probably about 9 feet. Seen little fish here and there, and finally caught one. Looks like a rainbow chub to me. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I think they can withstand really low oxygen levels. So between the shallow depths I've seen and the fact that I just caught one of those tells me that this might be a frequent winter kill lake, and that might be all that lives in here. I don't know. I'm gonna head up to the north part of the lake now, see if I can find any deeper water, bigger fish. Well, I did find some deeper water right over here. After finding 5, 6, 7, 5 feet of water, I finally found 15 all of a sudden. 16, 17, but it's in a very small area. Of the whole lake, it's probably only about 10% of the lake that's in 10 feet or more. The rest of it is all shallow, real weedy. I think that makes this lake very prone to winter kill and probably incapable of supporting game fish. I thought if there are any panfish or anything of interest, they might be concentrated, suspended over the deeper part, but there was absolutely nothing. So I think that tells me everything I need to know. Like I say, I've been wondering about this lake for basically my whole life, and I'm not sorry I came. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Pretty much cloudless all day long. A little cold and windy, but I didn't mind because down here I'm sheltered from the wind for the most part. And so now I can cross this one off my list and turn my attention elsewhere. See where I might find my honey hole in the woods. All right, onward. Alright, it's day 3 of my search for a honey hole in the woods. We had a couple of nasty days with high winds, rain. It was just gross out there, so I didn't bother. And today, it's gorgeous. There's a very light wind, sun's out, it's in the high 30s. I've been in a t-shirt doing stuff outside all day. And now, I'm out to fish. Now this lake, I fished 3 years ago, and I found little bluegills. So I know they're in here. And I thought either they're chronically stunted or just need to give them a few years. Give them a chance to grow a little bit. So let's go right over here. It's only about 10 acres, so we can cover ground fast. But I think they'll probably be suspended right over here. Let's go find out. Alright, I just want to show you this spot right here. I drilled this hole right here, and I pasted off. It's only 25 feet from that nearest spruce tree. This is a floating bog, I figured, but I had no idea that they would float on this kind of deep water right here. Usually, you know what, a couple of feet maybe, something like that. It's a little squishy. 15 feet right here. Mind blown. Okay, so I came out, I drilled my way across the basin, 3, 4 holes, didn't see anything. I thought they'd be suspended out there somewhere, and maybe they still are. I really think they might be. And I worked along the shoreline here looking for weeds, looking for fish, and to this point right here, nothing. So I'm going to drill my way back across this way. I'm going to make an X across my previous trail and I'm just going to keep drilling holes. They have to be here somewhere, although I'm starting to realize we had a couple of really hard winters since I was here last. Cross my fingers that there's still something here. Well, I guess that's it. I'm calling it. I guess I'm gonna have to say I'm skunked today. It's a little frustrating. I can't say it's a waste of time, but it is frustrating. One interesting thing, once I got down to this end of the lake, every hole I drilled, I pulled up a whole ton of little worms and insect larvae and what looked like bluish freshwater shrimp and other things, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking, where are the fish? Why aren't they here eating it? I think either one possible explanation is that this lake did freeze out in recent years, and there are very few fish, and probably only really small ones in here right now, to eat that stuff, so it's flourishing. Or there is just so much fish food that wherever these fish are, they're not having to work too hard to find their food, and unless I drill down on top of them, they might not be moving around that much. They might just be all schooled up in one little place, sucking up all kinds of food. No idea. Really no idea. I'm not inclined to come back here anytime soon. But it's not a waste of time. It's a beautiful day. I always learn something. I've never seen anything like this, though. It's incredible. One thing I do know is the fish, where the fish are on our lake, and that they'll be biting when the sun's going down. So if I hurry, I can probably get my kids to go out with me there. So, all right, the search continues for my honey hole in the woods.